One of the major things Shove taught me when I met him, he said, poor thinking habits keeps most people poor. Not poor working habits. Most people work hard, but they don't think hard. And Shove taught me that the mind is like a factory, a mental factory. And whatever you think about all day long pours ingredients into this mental factory. And that's what builds the economic, social, financial fabric of your life. He quoted me a Bible phrase that says, as you think, so you become. How awesome. When he talked about poor thinking habits, he had me. I used to start the day reading the morning newspaper. I mean, you can believe that or not. I'd get a cup of coffee and read the paper. I'd load up on wars and riots and murders and stabbings and killings and bank robberies and muggings and car wrecks and tragedies. I'd even read the back pages. I seem to like that stuff for some weird reason. I'd load up on all that, and then I'd start the day. You can imagine the kind of days I used to have. You walk around on your financial knees. They call you economic peewee.
You talk about people dying from disease. Look, people die from negativity every day. They just got to wait 80 years to make it official. How many of you know negative people? How many in the room have been negative before? You have been negative. You know why? Because the number one dominating force on planet Earth is the media. It's the media. The media, 800 TV channels spew negativity onto the American public and every other country on planet Earth. They just puke it on you. Oh, but I watch Fox. Good. They puke at Fox and they do at MSNBC. It's just you're in agreement with the puke. I got some conservative puke, I got some liberal puke, right? And you got Stossel in the middle. He's like, okay, I'm just an independent puker. Dude, puke is puke. Would you agree? Just because you got used to it. Oh, I like O'Reilly's puke. I like Hannity's puke. I use every one of the news channels. If you'll see me on TV doing news one day, okay? I don't watch news, I make news. See the shift? You see the slight shift? Don't watch the news. Decide when you leave here today to make the news. You don't read the newspaper, you write newspaper articles. You don't read books. Yeah, read them, but learn to write them. You don't need to spend a lifetime writing a book. This was 3 hours. Okay, we sold 40,000 copies of this one book and it was self-published. It's never, ever, ever been in a bookstore. A guy writes me, he says, man, you got misspelled words all in that book. I'm like, yeah, what, so what, where are they? 123, 128, 134, 165, 120. I'm like, yeah, and bad grammar too. I'm like, yeah, what's your point, dude? What's your point, man? Why you keep telling me that? He's like, because man, you got misspelled words in the book. It's a bestseller, bitch. Okay, so it ain't best written, okay? The word bitch, look it up in the dictionary, means a complainer, a whiner, an excuse maker. I wear a little band on my pin here, on my wrist here. It's a little black band, and it says, champions dominate. And on the other side, don't be a little bitch. That's right. Human beings have so many excuses, it's unbelievable. You know why? Because you watch the news too much. Because you've agreed to receive news, not make news.
The guy says, I want to be a great leader. Wonderful. The first thing we do is follow him to his house. When we get there, we walk in and check his library. Number one. Somebody says, well, why check his library? The reason is because what a man reads pours massive ingredients into his mental factory, and the fabric of his life is built from those ingredients. You would not believe what some people have got in their house to read. You would not believe. One of the best dressed up words I know for a lot of it is trash. Can you imagine dumping a barrel of trash into this mental factory every day and coming out with a rich, dynamic, positive life? It can't be done. You might as well try making a cake with cement. The kids back in Danbury, Connecticut, they're asking me questions one day. I'm talking to the kids. Kids got good questions these days. One of them said to me, Mr. Rohn, how do you build the good life? I said, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. Here's how you build anything. Select the right ingredients, keep out the wrong ingredients, and it starts with thought. Everything starts with thought. So you must be wise and careful what you think about, because that starts everything. You got to be wise and careful. I asked the kids, what would happen if somebody dropped sugar in my coffee? They said, well, you'd be okay. I said, what if somebody dropped strychnine in my coffee? They said, well, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson 1. Life is both sugar and strychnine. You gotta be careful. I said, what if my worst enemy drops in the sugar? They said, will you be okay? I said, what if my best friend, even by accident, drops in the strychnine? They said, well, you'd be dead. I said, correct. Lesson 2, watch your coffee. You got to be careful. See, it doesn't matter who hands you the bad stuff. It doesn't matter where you get the bad stuff. It'll still do its damage on your bank account, wherever you get it. Mr. Schoaf gave me one of the greatest phrases when I first met him, when he said, Jim, every day stand guard at the door of your mind. How important. Stand guard at the door of your mind. And you decide what goes into your mental factory. Don't let anybody just dump anything they want to in your mental factory, because you've got to live with the result.
You got to look for every opportunity. How many believe you're missing opportunities right now? They're coming past you. They're there. You got to get in the game. You can't be in a newspaper. You can't be on TV. You can't be watching Anderson Cooper in his little tight t-shirt and he comes out and thinks it's big news. I'm like, dude, everybody knew. Come on, bro. The average American reads 1 book a year. Why would I write books? Why am I doing this? Because I want readers to know me. The average American reads 1 book a year. The top CEOs in America read 5 books a month, 60 plus books a year. Okay, you want to be in the game? Read. I buy books. I don't care about the $30 the book costs. You know what I'm looking for? I'm looking for $1 million. Every book I open, I'm looking for $1 million. I quit looking for $10. I did that when I was a kid. I'm looking for millions now. I'm looking for $1 million. How many believe this is much work to work for $10 as it is for $1 million? It's the same amount of work, man. Same amount of rejection, same amount of uphill. It's the same amount of bullshit. Okay? So you just change the target, okay? If you were homeless and I was going to coach you out of homeless, the first thing I would tell you is not to change your clothes, not change your location, just change your ask. The ask. Dude, can you give me 100? How about 100, man? Just 100, man. How many believe he'd be better off at the end of the day if he was asking for 100 rather than a quarter? Just to change the amount you're asking for. So today I'm talking to you about, man, change what you're reading every day. Change what you're reading. Change the influence of your getting. A guy gets this book. We heard this last night. He's on the audio version of this book. He goes from $30,000 a month in income to $80,000 a month in income in 1 month. He's been on the program for 4 days, okay? He's like, oh my God, man, I scored the 4th day I was on the program. He starts listening to it again. Everywhere he goes, he's listening to this audio program. All of a sudden, it changes the way he's thinking about how much action he has to take.